Hi, I'm Daniella. I'm a sophomore at DePaul University. I am majoring in film, and today I'll be interviewing Katie Poss. Katie is a subs. Okay, let me restart. Katie is a sustainability program manager at Turner Construction Company. Hello, Katie.
Hi, nice to meet you.
You too. My first question for you is what initially drew you to this career path?
Yeah, good question. Never in a million years did I think I was going to end up working in construction. I do have family members who work in construction. I can trace back 4 generations to family members who have worked in construction. But when I was in my early 20s, my friend invited me out to his job site. He was building a 8 foot diameter dome out of concrete, kind of looked like a hobbit house. And I got to mix concrete and plaster and work with my hands, and just the feeling of finishing a project and seeing the fruits of my labor, being able to walk inside of the dome and just really admire everything that we had just accomplished. Something clicked for me. And that's when I decided to go back to school and pursue a career in construction.
Awesome. Were there any, sorry, were there any high school courses or college courses that you took that you found to be very helpful in your career now?
Yeah. I was actually just thinking about this the other day that, you know, how you're in like fifth or sixth grade and you hate math class and you're like, I'm never going to have to do this. I'm never going to have to use this. Why do I have to learn this? And I was thinking back to that, and all of the math classes, all of just the basic algebra that I hated learning back then, I use every day in my career. So if you hate math and just pay attention, even if it's, grueling, because odds are it's going to help you whether you end up in construction or whatever field. Aside from that, the entire college program that I did was incredibly helpful. I have a degree in concrete industry management from Middle Tennessee State University. And I think back to a lot of the stuff I learned in my courses, especially estimating and all the information I learned about materials. I even reference some of my textbooks sometimes from college in the work that I do now. And all of the information that I learned as part of that program has really helped me be successful in my career today.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
That's
or,
cool.
almost every course in that program helped me.
Wow. Were there any courses you wish you would have taken that you think would have been beneficial now?
Um, it's a really good question. Hmm, I wish I had been able to take some courses around BIM and VDC. VDC is virtual design and construction. So, a lot of times we will build a building and on the computer as a model before we ever build it in real life. So I wish that I had had a little bit more exposure to those programs and that modeling software. Yeah.
Were there any internships or apprenticeships that you took that you found to be beneficial?
Yes. Let's see. So one summer, I was a lab technician. I assisted my professor with a research grant she was working on around fly ash. And fly ash is the byproduct of burning coal. So, at all those coal burning facilities that are generating electricity, there is a waste product that is generated from producing electricity. And that waste product can actually be used in concrete to reduce the environmental footprint of concrete. So
Wow.
that summer was incredibly impactful for me. I learned so much. And then one summer I got to go over to the Middle East and intern with a cement products manufacturer just south of Dubai. So I spent a very hot summer in the United Arab Emirates and got to see how precast concrete was made, how cement is manufactured, how bricks and blocks are made. It was a really interesting experience. And that was definitely a highlight of my college career.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. How did you, if you don't mind me asking, how did you land that?
So one of my professors was actually from Dubai. He grew
Okay.
up there, and I think he had some contacts over there. And he put together, it was a group of 10 students who were all in the concrete industry management program. And I applied, and we all went over there together. It was really cool. We got to fly to Doha, Qatar one day and visit a Turner job site, and that's the company I work for now.
Wow.
So yeah, very cool experience.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, so then how did you come across the association that you're in now, the Tennessee Concrete Association?
Yeah, so I remember when I was in college, my professor and mentor at the time, she was the director of the program, Dr. Heather Brown, used to talk about Alan Sparkman all the time in the Tennessee Concrete Association. So I saw that they were hosting a tour. They had this like tiny house, sustainable building on their property made of concrete, and they had a tour scheduled. So I signed up to go for the tour, and I remember they had just some slabs of permeable pavement on the property, and they just had all these different installations of different types of construction, of concrete construction. And I was exposed to the TCA through that, through the CIM program at MTSU. And then I also came across Donna Thompson, who works with the Tennessee Concrete Association through TWIG. TWIG is Tennessee Women in Green. It's a local nonprofit of women and men who just support sustainability in Nashville and want to network and learn about how we can be more green and more sustainable in Nashville.
That's really cool because when I think about construction, like I don't think about like I don't know if there's a huge I don't know if there's a huge focus on sustainability or if do you think it's growing in that
It,
sense?
it is. And that's actually why I came to work for Turner, because I wanted to work in sustainability and green building. And they're, the number one green builder out there. And to answer your question, construction is not very good for the planet. And we're doing things all wrong, and we could be doing things a lot better. So that's what motivates me. I had a professor tell me, Katie, do you want to go build, homes, hobbit houses in the woods for people and maybe build like 10, 20 houses in your career? Or do you want to work for a huge multi-billion-dollar company? Like where can you have more impact? And that's why I ended up at Turner, because I wanted to do work. Like making a paycheck wasn't enough for me. I really wanted to make an impact and had a passion for sustainability. So it's really worked out in my current role because I get to focus on sustainability full time now.
That's really cool. That's really, really cool. Um, so I guess I know networking is huge in any career that you lead, like whether or not it's construction, whatever. Do you attend a lot of networking events now, or did you in the past? Like, where are you at on networking?
Definitely more so before the pandemic, but I
Okay.
think we've all kind of had to, shift more to a more virtual format, which I think is cool because here we are engaging with each other and talking, and we're not even in the same city. And I've been able to network just as much, if not more, through this new sort of increased virtual format. I like to go to the Green Build Conference every year. It's the US Green Building Council's annual Green Building Conference, and that's a great place to network with like-minded people in the industry. I also helped to co-found the Carbon Leadership Forum Nashville Hub, which is a group of design professionals and developers and contractors here in Nashville that really want to reduce the carbon footprint of our projects. And we have webinars, every other month, and networking engagements. And that's been a really awesome opportunity to network with like-minded people locally in my industry. So I can't stress enough the importance of networking. When I was in college at MTSU, they actually hosted networking events for the students to where companies would come in and we could meet and network with companies, because ultimately when we graduate, we're trying to find a job, right? So they gave us opportunities and a forum to make those connections before we ever graduated. So networking is very important.
Yeah. So I guess my next question is, does the concrete industry have a lot of sustainability networking events, which you semi-answered already? So if you don't have anything else, then that's fine too.
Yeah, I mean, specific to concrete, there's a lot of attention on concrete today because manufacturing cement has a very high carbon footprint. So the industry is really coming together, structural engineers, ready mix suppliers, general contractors like myself, to see what we can do to reduce that footprint as much as possible. So there are absolutely, that conference I mentioned, the Greenbelt Conference, SE 2050 is structural engineers who have come together that says by the year 2050, they're going to completely decarbonize their work. So all the buildings that they design, they want to be net zero carbon. The National Ready Mix Concrete Association does all kinds of education and training to their members and to their suppliers on how to reduce the carbon footprint of concrete. So yeah, tons of networking opportunities, tons of industry associations that are really working together to solve this big problem. One statistic that I think is pretty shocking is that cement manufacturing is responsible for 8% of global carbon emissions. And if that were a country, it would be the third largest emitter behind the US and China, just for that one material. So we have some work to do.
Yeah. So have you always been, when you first graduated from college, you said that you wanted to make an impact, but was sustainability your main focus? Or did you, when you went into the workforce at first, were you where were you at when you first entered? Have you seen a growth in sustainability since entering the workforce?
Yeah, absolutely. So I didn't come into Turner working in sustainability full time, although I had a huge passion for it. I worked in estimating for about 2.5 years. So that's where we basically determine how much a construction project is going to cost. And then I worked out in the field in operations for about 2 years. So I was actually boots on the ground, wore a hard hat and vest, and helped to manage and oversee the actual construction process. And then just this year in January is when I transitioned into sustainability full time.
Okay. So, which was your ultimate goal in the end?
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
I guess, can you tell us a little bit about what your typical workday would entail now?
Sure. So I work in our technology group with a primary focus on data centers, and the project teams that I work with are all over the country. So I will check in with them on a regular basis, and I help to oversee LEED certification, which is a third-party certification that basically follows guidelines for how we can make construction and the design of our buildings greener and more sustainable. I help to manage waste on our job sites. So construction and demolition waste management is a big piece of what we do. Unfortunately, there's a lot of waste generated on our job sites, and we need to be responsible and try to divert as much material as possible from landfills. And then I also primarily focused on embodied carbon. So how, we can calculate the cost of a building, how much a client is going to pay to build a building. We can build an estimate, right? Now we can build a carbon estimate. So we can take material quantities. Let's say a building has 3,000 cubic yards of concrete and 500 tons of steel and whatever it is. We can build an estimate that tells the owner and design team how much carbon emissions are associated with those materials. And then, aside from calculating that carbon, we're trying to figure out how we can reduce it as much as possible. Yeah. So my concrete degree has really come into play with that work, because I talk to ready mix suppliers all the time. And I'm like, hey, can we reduce the amount of cement in this mix? Can we do this? And it's a lot of coordination between engineers, owners, subcontractors, and our own operations teams.
Cool. That's really cool. My next question is there any aspect of this career that you think people wouldn't assume straight off the bat of like the title of your, I don't know how to describe it. I'm going to restart and then I'm going to ask again. I'm going to cut it out. So is there one aspect of this career that people would not expect?
I think the amount of women in construction has grown a lot, and it's really exciting to be on the job site and see the amount of women and diversity. I remember when I first started the concrete program at MTSU, I was really nervous my first day of classes, and I thought I was going to be the only girl. And I walked in, and there were 3 women like leading the program, leading that class. And I just knew I was in the right place. And fast forward to now, there are so many women in the industry. There's so many opportunities for women in construction. So if you're a woman out there and you feel like you can't pursue a career, whether it's construction or something else that's male dominated, don't let that scare you. Don't be scared to go into a career that's not necessarily traditionally, for women. There's a lot of opportunities for women in construction, whether you want to be out in the field on a job site, or you want to work in marketing, or you want to be in the office and work in estimating. There's a ton of opportunities. So I'd say that's one thing that's pleasantly surprising about working in construction.
Cool. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And then final question here are, what words of wisdom do you have for someone considering this occupation?
Words of wisdom considering a career in construction. I'm going to make that specific to if you're concerned about climate change and what the future on this planet might look like, consider a career in construction or in manufacturing or in any of these other, industries that are doing a lot of harm to the planet, because they need people like you who are passionate about making a difference to go in and change the way that we're doing things. Obviously, the way we've done things has gotten us to this point, and we really need to make some big, bold changes in how we're approaching these industries quickly so that we can save our planet. I hate to sound cliche, but we're kind of to that point where we need to make some big changes quickly so that the future generations can enjoy this planet. So if you're passionate about sustainability at all, I strongly encourage you to look into construction or any of those other industries I mentioned.
Wow. Thank you for joining us, and I hope you learned more about TCA. For more information, please visit the TCAQ career page and find out how TCA can help you with your career development. Until next time, have a good week. Bye.
Bye.
And then stop recording.